Hello, my name is Mark Hughes, also known on the forums as Happy Being, and this is a presentation for the Safe Network DevCon called Supercharging the Safe Network with Project Solid. There are slides with this presentation, so you can go through those later if you want, but I'm going to go straight to a demo. So on the screen on the left you'll see the Peruse browser, and on the right I've opened the browser console, so we'll be able to see a bit of what's going on behind the scenes. I've already logged into my account, but I haven't authorized any apps yet. And I've got a tab ready here for the demo application. Now I'm doing this demo using mock routing rather than the live version, which is working on the Alpha 2 network. I'm doing it this way because I only have mobile internet here. Now what I've done is loaded an application, a website, web app from the Safe Network, and you can see that displayed. This is a simple blog app. So you can see it's got a menu and a graphic, and on the home page of this blog you can see some blog posts displayed. This is what you'd see if you visited this live on the Safe Network right now, something like this, different blog posts. But that's what you'd see. Now what's interesting about this particular application is it doesn't know about Safe Network, but it is using the Safe Network. It's not just loading off it like a static website, it's using the Safe API. Let me show you a bit more. So first thing I'm going to do is log in, which for now means it's going to request access to the storage for read and write. The blog posts it's displayed before I did that were visible because they're public. But now I've got read-write access to the storage that's being used for these blog posts. So you can see, I hope, that I now have two new buttons underneath each blog post for edit and delete. And the other thing I can do now is create a new blog post. So let's go do that. A new post. And I'm not going to publish it right away, but there's a publish button at the bottom. I'll come back to that in a moment. I'll show you the right hand side first, because now we can see what's been happening behind the scenes. I've configured the browser console to show you what the application is doing in order to talk to the Safe Network, because this is a solid application and it uses a RESTful web protocol called Linked Data Platform, or LDP. And what that means is it's doing normal web requests. So at the top, don't know if you can see that, we have a head request, and then below that a get, and so on. So it's doing things like head, get, and it can do put, it can do post, it can delete. A standard web protocol interface. I'm just going to enlarge this a little bit more, so in case it's too small for you to see. Now what happens when I publish, if you look at the bottom of the screen on the right, we see a put was added. And then another get. So when I hit publish, first of all there was this put, and then this get. If I go back to the top, this head request is testing if the storage exists. You can tell it's a storage container it's accessing because it ends in a slash. It does exist. So it then does a get. What it's doing is requesting a listing of what's in this container. And we don't see the content of the listing, but we can see what the app does next is it gets. It's doing a get on a file which it found in the container, or in the container listing, and then it does a get on another one. And that's what happened at the beginning. When it displayed the first two blog posts, it checked the container, found those blog posts, read them and displayed them on the home page. And then if we come down to the bottom, where I did the put, you can see it put the new blog post that I created. I don't know if you can read the file name, but it's at the end it says a new blog post there, which I've highlighted, which was the title I gave to the blog post. You can see that on the left here. Right, so what's happening here? Earlier I said this is a solid app and it doesn't know anything about Safe Network. So how is it managing to talk to the safe network, and what is it doing when it does? Well, the first thing is I've written a library. So to allow a solid app to talk with this RESTful protocol and store files and retrieve files from the safe network, you just add a library. And that library implements the linked data platform protocol, which is part of the solid specification. So a solid app with this library can talk to safe network. It's as simple as that. The way the library works is it intercepts the window fetch calls made by the browser, and if they're safe URLs, it maps them to the safe NFS API. So a get will do effectively a get file from the safe NFS API, and so on. So the app itself knows very little, hardly anything at all about the safe network. You just add this library and it works. And the nice thing about this library is it's also modular, so we can extend it. But for the moment, we're just worried about showing that a solid application can work on safe network. Let's go into a little bit more detail about what that means in terms of solid. If I look at the blog post on the left, underneath, I can view the data. So let's have a look at what the blog app actually stored on the safe network. I don't know if you can see the URI at the top. You probably can't, but I'll read it to you. It says safe://plume test store /posts/ and then there's the file name for this particular blog post. So you could visit that on the safe network. Anybody can read this because these are public blog posts. What I'm going to do is show you the content. This that I've highlighted, I'm copying that, is linked data in a format called Turtle. And I'm just going to copy it and paste it into an editor so you can see it a bit more clearly. Now what this is structured data, and it's semantic and it's linked, which makes this a very powerful data format. And I'll explain what that means later. I'll just show you a little bit of what this content is first. At the top here, these prefix statements are effectively creating little aliases. So N0 is now an alias for this particular URI. Some of these URIs refer to vocabularies or ontologies. So they're like definitions of what the meaning of terms are. I'll see some of those in a moment. And some of them are just to make the rest of the turtle a bit more readable. So here C refers to a URI which is actually going to be a link to something else. So it says safe happy being card. That's like a profile. That's an RDF resource somewhere else that contains more information. So underneath the prefix statements, we've got this. Now you can see that that URI is the same as the URI which was used in peruse. If I flip back, it's the same URI here. So we know that this section is describing this RDF resource, this linked data resource itself. So it's talking about itself. The first thing it does, it says this is a post in terms of the N ontology from the top. So it's saying it's a blog post. Next it says when it was created, when it was last modified. Oh, it's got a title, and the title is a new post. It's got some content. There's the content. And below that, oh, wait a minute, it's got a creator, and this is N0 author, and there's a bit more information down here about N0 author. This is a user account. It's the account of C:me. We remember back at the top, we've got some more information about what that is. So it's this URI, this card, and the section is me. So we could go and look up that extra information. And then below there's also a bit of information contained directly in the blog post. There's a mugshot, a little graphic to display of this author, and there's a name for him. But we can go and get more information from somewhere else, providing we have access to that somewhere else. We can find out more about this author. We might get hold of his private key so we can check when we talk to him that it's really him, and so on. There's lots of power involved in this. So why is this a big deal? Let me recap. This is what I've been showing you today. This is the essence of it. On the left is the app using window fetch, and on the right it's talking to the safe NS API. But the app thinks it's talking to a linked data platform. It's a standard platform for storage. Very easy to implement. And it's storing it, what you saw today, is Plume blog on the left, storing blog posts, but it's the second point is it's using linked data in turtle format to store its information. So those two components, those two elements, what do they give us? Well, the first thing is that if I find a better blog app, say MadeSafe come out with something with extra features and I want to use that, I can just start using it. It can understand blog posts which are using the standard blog ontology and are stored in RDF and are stored using the standard way of getting and creating information. It can add new blog posts. They all end up in the same place. Either of those blogs will display those blog posts. I can swap back and forth between them. As more and more apps adopt this approach, we get a rich data set in our storage, which all these different apps can make use of. You could make notes on one device and then import them directly into your blog when you're sat at your desk and you want to do your blogging and so on. Contacts lists, all sorts of information will just be like one repository. But because it's linked data, you can crawl that data. At the bottom I've added Sparkle, which is a query language. You can treat it like a database. So your data is a database. It's not separate data. It's not the tyranny of proprietary data formats and how do I import this into something else and can I share this with somebody. It just works. More than this, apps could become very simple in some use cases. It could be just a query and a little bit of user interface. Little querylets that could then be shared. Very easy to modify. You can imagine an explosion in creativity as developers and even users start to make use of this flexibility and the availability of data. So you've got this very rich platform, but it gets better because it's not just your data. It's everybody's data that you have access to. All the public data, there's a DBpedia in linked data format. We can pull that onto the safe network. There are lots of data sets being created that we can make use of and you will have access to. So it becomes very rich, and I can imagine an explosion in creativity and data reuse and so on. That's why I call it supercharging. Now there's a lot of information on that slide in that animation, so I provided another slide which summarizes that. I don't have time to go through it again, or the rest. There are more slides here if you want more depth. So I'm just going to finish off now. I want to thank everybody both at the MadeSafe team and the Solid team to help me get to this point, and you guys for listening. If you have any questions, I've created a topic on the forum, so search for Supercharging at SafeNet Forum, ask your questions there and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Thank you very much.